Okay, we're Malta. We're going to do a modern print. This print is probably from around 1980, maybe a little bit early, maybe a little bit later, but it is titled The Grand Harbour, Malta, and it was painted by Charles Bone. It is signed Bone, and it is inscribed with the pencil signature Charles Bone. It's numbered 27 of 150. It's a limited edition. It's not a special screen print or a special type of print. It's just an ordinary print, printed in Malta by ABC Press Limited. And in Malta, they wanted to commemorate the fleet leaving in 1979. And the last Admiral here was this gentleman called OSWALD CECIL. And he is photographed in his dress uniform, which is a summer dress uniform with white shoes and a sword, with his epaulets and all the medals. And he's photographed in this area looking across towards the three cities, across to St Angelo, which in his day was called HMS Angelo, because even though it's a building, it was run like a ship. It had the same sort of chain of command. And there are buildings in England now, around ports particularly, naval ports, where a building, a barracks in a way, is titled HMS, as I say, even though it's not a ship. So we've got Malta, we've got the last Admiral here, who was had the task of saying goodbye to Malta on behalf of the Navy. So in this picture, there are some white ensigns, so that means it is pre-1979. The white ensign is a serving ship flag. There is a Maltese boat, another type fishing boat, little craft, Maltese boats, and some sort of English British cargo ships. So we have Sanglia, we have Burgu, Victoriosa, we have Calcara. This is the lift to take trolleys of wounded soldiers from the barges up to the hospital, Biggie. And it is I think it was a steam-driven lift to take literally stretchers full of men from the front, Gallipoli for example, up to this wonderful hospital, which is still there. It's a museum now. So lovely thing, and they're so cheap. These things are so cheap that not giveaway necessarily, but they're sort of throwaway in Malta. And even in England, you can buy this sort of print for under £50. There is a lot of World War II Malta Spitfire Hurricane stuff, and you'll see these beautifully made prints with lovely paintings, and they're laboriously signed by 20 or 30 pilots who were fighting there, fighting in the war. And there's loads of them in England. There's quite a lot here. There's loads and loads of them in England, and they're so cheap. It's quite upsetting because they're fantastic artifacts. They're not socially popular in Malta because it's a colonial thing, and the Maltese were pleased to get independence, of course. And it's a sort of slightly out of fashion, as I say. But the incredibly important things. This is signed by OSWALD CECIL, Admiral. He hasn't put his rank on this signature. He's signed it as a person, if you like. And it's a real signature. And though he wasn't here, I don't think in the war, he was here at the end, after the war, in peacetime. He's still an important person. And he was friendly with the owners of, I think it's called Villa Dorel in Guja. I think it's got a number of names, the big palace there, named by a local family. And when the arrangements were being made to leave, for the British fleet to leave, obviously they were handing over the barracks, the docks, the equipment that couldn't be taken, the buildings, office buildings. They were handing over everything to the Maltese bit by bit, and they had one last day where they had a meeting in this palace, Villa Dorel I think it's called, as I say, and the owners were very generous and let them gather together and say their goodbyes to each other and to the island. And by chance, that place, Villa Dorel in Guja, was the first place in Malta that put the British up when they came, when Napoleon was hanging around. And there is actually a cemetery in the gardens of that private house full of English soldiers. So to me, I find it very, very, very moving, very interesting. There's a lot of history, and it's sort of not being looked at the moment. It's being sort of slightly suppressed for political reasons. So this person wasn't the Admiral here only because he knew how to steer a ship and pull the trigger on a cannon. He was here because he was able to deal with the delicacies and indelicacies of a handover, and he had to try and keep everyone happy. He had to keep the British happy in Whitehall and in the Admiralty. He had to keep the Maltese happy. He had to keep the Maltese government happy, which are two different things. He had to keep his staff happy, and he had to keep the Navy happy, and he had to keep it all working, and he had to make no mistakes, so he could leave in a proper manner. And I think he did leave in a proper manner. And he was, being an admiral, he was extremely sociable and able to charm and to participate in any social event without any embarrassment or difficulty. And at a dinner party, at a parade in the church, in the Catholic Church, at a funeral, he would be fine and charming. And yet he had to run the navy that was in Malta, so he had to be charming and efficient as well. So that's the story. It's a story about the British going, a memento, how undervalued they are, how there's so many all over the place in England and here, and they're so cheap. It's incredible. We'll have that framed, and we'll wait till someone who likes it will give us a good price for it. I think that as an item, it's fairly decoratively interesting. I think that the two signatures are good. The fact it's a limited edition printed here. It's a nice feature. It's not one sort of printed somewhere else, brought back. And I've just given you a little outline of what happened here. Just give one last story for fun. In 2004, I came here on holiday with my father because I was living in England at the time, and we stayed in Attard in a hotel, and we took a day trip to Vittorioso, and we drove along the waterfront, and this was before the Cottonera development was too deep into it. It was starting to do the St Angelo Mansions housing block here. We had a lovely time. So we went into the St Angelo's Mansions and met the site manager, and he showed us around all the tunnels underneath. These are the Grand Master's tunnels where the slaves used to sleep, and he showed us all the bits and pieces. And then we took the car. I was driving a little hire car. I drove it up through the ramp on the other side, and I drove it up to this level. And to get from here to here, you have to go through a gatehouse, and you have to do a 90-degree left in a small constricted area. And there was a ramp going pretty steep, that sort of angle, and it goes up to the next level, and it's granite blocks, blue granite blocks, which are pitted with dimples. And I got up to the top, and I was conscious it wasn't very safe. The car was struggling to get up, and then I drove around here, and I parked here, my father in the car, got out of the car, no one else around, and we wanted to go to the top. So we walked through the barracks, and there was no one there. We thought, well, should we go? And we said, yes, we'll go. There's no one stopping us. There's no signs. There's no gate. And then my man came out of the shadows. He said, I'm in charge. He was sleeping on the floor on a piece of cardboard. He said, I'm in charge. I'm the guardian. He said, what have you come for? I said, well, we've come to look at the board. He said, good. have a look round. You go at the top there, and you can go around the front, but be careful over there and watch that bit there. And we said, do we have to pay you? He said, no, don't pay me. But enjoy your visit. So we walked up the steps to the next level. This bit at the front is leased by the sovereign orders of, look at this right, the sovereign military order of Malta, which is based in Rome, but they own this bit now, or lease it. So we walked up the next level to this level, which is behind, and we went up some steps, and there was a swimming pool, which the British built, this high, and it was empty, of course, but it was a pool for the soldiers, the sailors. So we kept going past it. It was the very top bit at the back, and there was a large square flat roof of bastions, and there was a brass bell hanging in a belfry, open belfry, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to ring the bell, wouldn't it, Dad? So he said, yeah, why not? So I got a brick and I just whacked it, dong, dong, and that was what I did. Then we walked around and we went back down and got back in the car and drove down. And getting down that slope was excruciating. It was so slippery, dangerous. Managed not to hit anything and drove off. So that was my experience. I drove to the top of Fort St Angelo before it was restored. And I feel quite privileged to have seen it like that. Okay, that's enough reminiscing for now. Thank you.